Hello, good morning. I'm Tega Swan, the pastor of Refreshing Springs Ministry of the Beaver Butler Presbytery in Beaver Butler County area of southwestern PA. I'd like to welcome you to today's episode of God's Grace for Single Mothers. If you are watching this and the connection is not clear, please, I would like for you to notify me. Sometimes I get the notification that the connection is weak, but I have no way of knowing if that means it's not transmitting or not. And I would hate for you guys to miss any portion of this episode. Today's episode is titled, Is There a Man in Your Future? I would like to start by saying, please, if you have any single mothers, I would love for you to invite them to join me as they're watching this, or if they're not able to join me right away, please do me a favor, share this video with them, and also please invite them to like the God's Grace for Single Mother Facebook page. There they can go on there and find any of the videos that I'm doing or have done on there. Also, I want to tell you that I am active on several other pages where I share Christian perspectives on issues such as human sexuality and gender equality. You can find all of those things I share on my personal page, which is Tega Swan, or if you just put in Tega Swan, you will be able to pull up either my profile or my Facebook page. Like the page, and you will be notified every time I post a new video in any of the sections. So that's one page where you can find all the videos I do. However, if you're more interested in just following me for different pages, then you can like any of the pages, the Christian Sex Chronicles or the CBE Voices of Color page on Facebook, and as well as God's Grace for Single Mothers. So again, welcome, and today's topic is there a man in your future? When I started ministering to single parents, one of the reasons I did that was because of the huge stigma that society places on them, not so much for the fact that they are parenting alone, but that there is no man in their lives. This has been used to injure single parents a lot. So this is one of the reasons why we do need to address this topic, because when you are constantly poked in an area, it usually becomes your most vulnerable spot. It becomes the spot in which you are hurt. It becomes the spot in which you are most sensitive. It also becomes the spot which you are most aware of. And the latter is one of the reasons that single mothers will do anything to go out and fix what society says they lack, a man. So I want to look at that and say, okay, from the scriptures, how does that affect you as a single mother from the scriptures? What does the Bible say about being single? The first time we actually encounter anything about a particular kind of perspective on singleness is when Jesus speaks about it in Matthew 19 verse 11 to 12. This is where Jesus was talking to his disciples, because he had talked to them about the issue of not divorcing, and if anybody was to divorce, then they were to remain single, and the disciples just freaked out. It was like, how can anybody spend their life single? So here is what Jesus said to them. Jesus said, not everybody can accept this word but only those to whom it has been given. For some are eunuchs because they were born that way. Others have been made eunuchs. And others have renounced marriage because of the kingdom of heaven. The one who can accept this should accept it. So here we say, when the word eunuch just means people who cannot produce children, and therefore they don't have sexual needs or drives, and they just stay single. They're not really pursuing or involved in relationships like other people, romantic or sexual. And so here we hear Jesus saying that God actually made some people that way, not to seek and desire to be in relationships. So those people have a unique ability to stay single. And then he also went further to say that there are some people that life and circumstances has made them that way, to be single. And then he says, yet a third group of people on their own have chosen to be single in order to serve God better. If we go again to 1 Corinthians chapter 7, in verse 7, we see Apostle Paul, one of Jesus' disciples, talking further on this issue of singleness. So he says, I wish that all of you were as I am, but each of you has your own gift from God. One has this gift, and one has this gift, another has that. Now to the unmarried and the widows I say, it is good for them to stay unmarried as I do. But if they cannot control themselves, they should marry, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion. So here the Apostle Paul, he first reiterates again what Jesus Christ has said, that marriage or singleness is a gift from God. And when you have that gift, you're able to stay single. When you don't have that gift, you're going to have a desire to be in a relationship. So those are two ways. What does this mean for us as single mothers? First of all, I think it changes the whole spin and perspective of singleness or single parenting. The first thing it does is that it shows to us that, one, singleness is not something to be ashamed of. It is not a curse. It's not something to be ashamed of. God affirms it. However you became single, whether you didn't know you were born to be single, or circumstances ended up making you single, or you chose to be single, either as a single person or as a single mom, there is honor in that in the sight of God. So that's the first thing, and it should encourage you, because you should then be able to see your single parenting, whether you're called to marriage or not. You should be able to see your single parenting as an act of service to God. It is actually something in which God is there. He's glorified. You're honoring Him. The second thing is realizing it's not a curse. And if it's not a curse, not only should you not be ashamed of it, you shouldn't be so overly concerned about correcting it. When I didn't understand this, is when I got married and actually ended up a single parent. Because the church communities show no respect for single people. And as a minister, I was told that I would be more included in the life of the church, my leadership more honored, if I were a married woman. And with that, I opened my heart and open my life to accept a marriage proposal at a time of my life I was not convinced I was supposed to be married. That was not an unction that came from me, but because of society's pressure. And that marriage never worked out. 6 months, in 6 months, it was actually over 10 days after the marriage ceremony, but we stayed together until 6 months later when it finally ended. So, and I look at a lot of single parents who are running from one relationship to the other to constantly try to avoid this stigma that society places on single parents. By getting a man, as soon as one man is out the door, you're trying to get another man in. I want to say to you, please stop. Stop and try to discern for yourself prayerfully. Look within your heart. Are you really, really called to a relationship? And even if you're called to a relationship, how should you pursue it? Because every minute that you take away from your children to pursue a relationship that's not meant to be, your children suffer, and your children are more likely to fall into that stereotypical statistics that follows single mothers. So also I want to say something to the church communities and the people in single parents' lives. I want you to be aware of what the scripture says about singleness. And that singleness is not an abomination before God. And that God has not called everybody to marriage. And that God does not honor the marrieds more than the singles. Actually, as a matter of fact, the Apostle Paul gives a higher commendation to people who stay single. So, I want to leave you today with this encouragement as single mothers. I want you to start seeing your single parenting in a different light. It doesn't matter how you got to be a single mom. Whether it's by as dating and you ended up a single mother, or through losing your spouse through death, or through divorce and you ended up single. Stop. Recognize you are honorable. You are enough in God's sight. You are beautiful. Your status is honorable before God. So stop and affirm yourself. When you start to affirm yourself, it's going to affect the way you look at relationships. It's also going to affect and influence whether you really want a relationship in your life. Because a lot of women are getting into relationships not really because they need to be there, but because they have swallowed the lie that they need to be there. And oftentimes it brings single parents down. If there is a man in your life, if there is a man in your future, you're accepting and honoring your status as a single person is not going to stop that. God is actually going to bring it to pass. And in your heart, you are going to know whether you want a man in your life or not. But because you are focused and honoring yourself as a single mother, you're going to have better reasons for being in a relationship. Not one where you are pressured by circumstance or by people stalking or trying to fit in with others, but actually you're going to do it for you, because you're going to determine, I'm not ashamed of being single. I'm content where I'm at. And so if a man is going to be in your future, you'll be able to see it not as something that, oh, I need this to make my life better. Rather, you're going to see it as an additional blessing that God has given you. So I want to encourage you single moms, don't be frightened. Don't be frightened of the state of being single. Embrace it. It is an act of service to God. It is a blessing. It is an opportunity for you to do something great and bring out some glory to God in your life through your parenting with your children. At this time, I'm going to stop and just invite you to join me for next week's topic. Next week, we're going to be talking about cry if you need to. Cry if you need to. that's going to be addressing how we respond to the challenges and the pains of our situation as single mothers. Once again, I want to encourage you, please, please, share this video with the single mothers in your life. Share it to the groups and communities that you belong to, just in case they're single parents. And once again, join me next Tuesday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. GMT, for another encouraging episode of God's Grace for Single Mothers. Thank you for joining me today, and God bless you. I'll see you next week.